And welcome back to the Daily Wrap, everyone. If it's 6:32 and 10 seconds, it must be time for Political Potluck. And Political Potluck, you guys know the drill. It's where each of us brings a story to the party, just like bringing a dish of potluck to dinner. And Heather Hansen, you are our first contestant.
This is what interests me. The ACLU and the New York Times filed a lawsuit a long time ago to try to get information about the drone hits against U.S. citizens in other countries. This week, a bipartisan panel of 4 senators actually filed an amicus brief supporting trying to get this information. And it makes me think about, the 9/11 pictures of detainees. We had that recently where the DOD is saying that we can't have those pictures. And then the IRS emails this week, everybody's saying that you can't have these emails as well. And now this, at what point do we get access to these things without having to waste all this time and money to go through this legal process? It seems like it's too much.
It's always been there, that issue. It's very hard to defend or not defend on that. There's no doubt. I know in the case of the emails that they won't turn over on the IRS, there's a very real chance that it's not security, it's more protected communications. But if you said to me there's no way that 500 of them qualify for that, I'd agree with you.
Yeah, I mean,
Same thing with the photos.
I kind of want to just call out the Obama administration on this because they claim they're the most transparent administration in history. Yet journalists just have an impossible time getting records for them. Everything is deliberative process privilege, or it's national security risks if you release sensitive information.
And that's what it is here. And that's these senators are saying there's been no showing of harm. With the things that you have actually released, there's been no showing of harm. So you can't just keep saying national security risks and think that that's a free game to hide things.
I agree with you, but keep it in context. You're right. The Obama administration did say they would be the most transparent administration. There's no such thing as a transparent executive. Hasn't been in my lifetime. Go back as far as you want. They're never transparent, and guess what? They're never going to be.
Yeah, I get that, but we're talking about knowing when an American can be killed by their government. It seems as though that's the type of thing that we should know, and it shouldn't take this long, and it shouldn't take this many trips to the appellate court.
But it's almost like you. It's almost like you sharing your strategy on a case. You're not going to share it.
But yes,
the rights aren't the same.
Here's the thing: there's got to be a balancing test within this. That's a huge standard for what's public record and what's not. And I think this is arguably a case like many, many more of them, where public interest, the public right to know, overwhelmingly outweighs the government's right to keep this private.
You're probably right. Again, it's not that I'm disagreeing with you, because I don't. But pragmatically speaking, one, by the time it gets through a court, this president will be long gone, especially at this stage of the game. And two, they all do it. They all do it. They shouldn't, but they do.
And that's our last word on that segment. And you get to introduce your own.
Oh, well, okay. Well, because I've ruined my liberal credentials today, I'm going to let my heart bleed a little bit so I can get back where I belong. A couple of the members, the GOP members of the House, are getting ready to take on food stamps again. And there were comments made today that I found particularly distressing, because they were all aimed at, if people would just go to work, they'll like themselves better, they won't need food stamps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, these people don't know the data. We know that somewhere, depending on which method you use, the census or the SNAP program itself, which is the food stamp program, it's somewhere between 48 to 60% of people getting food stamps do work. A lot of those people at Walmart, my favorite one to pick on, they're using food stamps. And they work full time.
But Rick, do you have a problem with needing photo ID?
No, I don't. And there is that issue.
And that's one of the major issues that they're talking about right now. And then the other issue
that often comes up. But that's not what they're suggesting, though. They're not saying, let's make it more efficient. They're not saying, let's make sure the system works better. They're going after the program.
Here's one thing, though, that I think needs to be kept in mind for context, that for so long during the recession and after it, the Obama administration has suspended that work requirement that was put in under Bill Clinton.
Well, that's
a pretty critical
true.
thing. Well, a lot of states have gotten a waiver for it.
A lot of states have, but most still haven't.
And that's gone on even when unemployment has.
And it was the states who requested the waiver. So, let's keep that in mind. But the fact of the matter is, you still have to look at the numbers. Roughly 50% are people under 8 years old. Seriously? You want them to go to work? 10% of those people are over 60. They're retired.
I think most people would agree with you. It's the idea. I mean, if you read Jillian's piece about Obama phones,
Right.
this idea
Don't
that people
call
are
them
getting.
Obama
I know.
phones.
I know.
Lifeline
I
program,
know.
lifeline
Back me
program.
up on
This
this.
idea that people are getting something that they don't deserve. You know, I looked it up, and it's only 3.8%.
And there are some.
But it's only 3.8%. So when it comes to food stamps, if people really think the money is going to children and the elderly, that's not a problem. But you want them to have to give a photo ID.
That's
Okay,
right.
but can I
even a
ask you-
drug
You know,
I'm
test.
all right with
I
that.
personally really like the approach that Governor LePage has taken in Maine, and he's somebody that's speaking from experience because, you know, he was homeless at one point when he was a young man. I think he's done really smart reforms
He should
where
be homeless now.
it's been
I don't like where he lives.
I don't like where he
it's been
lives.
that's brutal.
His home is not the right home for him.
Bleeding heart for everyone but
Yeah.
him. But yeah, I think he's done a lot of things that really strengthen protections while also increasing opportunities for people to work and build
Can I ask a
skills.
very fast, quick? Oh, there's probably
No,
not
you
time.
cannot. So
Oh, you got
we'll
lucky.
continue it after the break because we have more political potluck. This is the Daily Wrap, and it's only on Newsmax TV from New York City. And welcome back to the show, everybody. Right now, we're talking about our favorite stories of the day in political potluck. And newcomer Jillian Melcher, you're up next.
All right, so I want to talk about Social Security disability insurance set to run out of money in 2016. And there's a big political fight about it. What the Obama administration is basically proposing is that we reallocate money from elsewhere in SSA to cover the difference. But that kind of doesn't address the key problem, and that's that there are all of these really perverse incentives. You've got lawyers that are basically like Better Call Saul, who get a cut of the benefits, get to come in and take some of that disability money, so of course they're going to sign as many people up as they can. Then you've got disability judges that are awarded for clearing the sheets, for getting rid of people on the disability list rather than considering cases on their merits. And you hear all these crazy stories about judges who are, you know, snoring open-mouthed during hearings or sexually harassing their colleagues reportedly, just really inappropriate behavior. And they're rewarded for it. And some of these judges are individually giving out more than $1 billion in benefits. So I think until the Obama administration addresses those critical problems, this program is going to be in big trouble.
Better Call Saul reference. Good job.
What's
It
your
premiered
point?
this week.
What's the problem?
problem?
Isn't that
What's the
that's
problem?
sort of the
Fascinating
norm.
TV.
It's sort of
Yeah.
the norm. You know, it's just like so many other bureaucracies. You see it with the VA. You know, you talked about that a little bit before. You see it there, and it's a problem that how do you get to the bottom of it and make a difference? How do you make the changes that need to be made? It's got to really start from the bottom up, and I don't even know if they know how to start.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you've got a lot of money and very poor oversight, you've got that incentive, and then you've got, you know, no real discipline.
Right,
If you
nobody's-
do wrong, you're gonna have
When,
waste, fraud,
when
and
you
abuse.
said that judges were snoring in court, Heather and I looked at each other because that has happened to both of us.
I'm horrified by that.
I
They've
know.
fallen asleep.
You're
in the
breaking
middle
my
of it.
trust in the American judicial
Well,
system.
and the worst part is you
I'm gonna cry
imagine
myself
how
to
you
sleep
feel
tonight.
when you're presenting a motion or a
Yeah.
case and the judge falls asleep. It's like, I'm not doing
yeah,
very
it's
well
a little,
here.
It's a
you
little
know?
depressing. But you know, the thing is, the system, as far as we are concerned, it does still work. It really does. And the problem with Social Security disability is you start to feel like it's not working. And there has to be some sort of accountability to bring it back so that it's working again. Because even with the problems and the fact that judges fall asleep, I feel pretty consistently that the system works. Even when I lose, the system works.
The other element, everything you brought up is, in my opinion, absolutely correct. This is all a problem. The other thing that we all kind of laugh at, but it's not funny, as you watch the unemployment figures go down, the benefits, you see a corresponding rise in disability.
That's
because
so
people
true.
are coming off of unemployment when they've used it up,
Yeah.
and they're claiming that they're disabled, and they're getting the money from there.
I mean, I've seen congressional reports that 1/4 of disability benefits are awarded improperly.
Total
And
fraud.
that's disturbing not just for taxpayers, I think, but to the people who are actually disabled, really rely on this. You know, it's running out of cash and it's not going to be good for them.
What about the people who
And that is
really
our
need it?
last word on that potluck because it's my turn, and as they'll tell you, I'm very selfish. I take as much time for myself as possible. Anyway, I want to talk to you about Jon Stewart. Obviously, he'll be stepping down later this year, an incredible 16-year run at the helm of The Daily Show. He's 52 years old right now, perhaps a little bit burnt out, perhaps saying, I want another challenge. He jumped into the directing pool just last year with Rosewater, critically acclaimed for the most part. Didn't make a lot of money at the box office, so I don't think that was exactly Mr. Stewart's goal. But anyway, there was a time when I went on Sean Hannity's show, and he was doing a spring break special. And I'll show you this clip right here because Mr. Stewart apparently was amused by it as well. And I just want to say before this that I was trying to give pragmatic advice to a young woman on how to funnel a beer properly. There was no sexual innuendo here whatsoever. I am married, I have a young child, but John didn't quite see it that way. Anyway, it was an honor to be John Stewarted, and you'll see what I'm talking about here, right here.
What kind of rotten, neglectful parents would allow their kids to even go on spring break?
I went to Panama City in 1992. I was at Sharky's. I may have gotten overserved 1 or 2 nights.
I've been at the Floribama. I've been down there.
You know all those places.
I know all those places.
Right?
We used to do when we were young, we put a boom hole, hold it up, open it up, and that was calling shotgun.
Shoot that cup.
This is called, go ahead.
Funnel. They have to lean back, it opens up their throat, and
Right.
then the beer just goes down.
Literally,
Chloe!
and that's just
Well, you
water.
gotta bend your knees a little bit. That's the whole trick.
Yeah.
You should be covering
So,
your face.
Mr. Stewart responded to that, and it wasn't pretty. He gets them back on camera and he goes, yeah, bend your knees, yeah, you old man. And it was just brutal. So,
How could you?
But it was an honor, however. Now, all that said, here's my point about Jon Stewart. That while, and it's like he died, and he even said on the show
Yeah,
last
he
night,
said
did
last
I
night.
die?
Right.
You even have President Clinton saying, where am I going to get my fake news from?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the whole world saying, how will the Daily Show continue? I say it will completely without missing a beat, because we saw it with John Oliver last year
Yeah.
when he took over, and it didn't miss a beat. It's a formula, and it's all about the writers, and it was around before Jon Stewart got there, and it's like the Tonight Show now. It's a franchise that will endure on and on and
hope you're
on, and
right.
I'm giving
Agree.
myself my last word. Anyway, coming up next, this is the Daily Wrap only on Newsmax TV, where we discuss a new feature called Yay or Nay. That's next, live from New York City.